The political game of Strait of Hormuz transit tolls. This is a comparative analysis using a Lanchester strategic model in continuous time, a LangGraph state transition model in discrete time, and the Monte Carlo method, combined into an integrated three-layer simulation. By Osamu Okumura, founder of the C4 Model Study Group. Here is today's outline. First, the background and purpose of this study. Second, the structure of the three mathematical models. Third, the simulation results. Fourth, a comparative analysis between the pre- and post-ceasefire phases. And fifth, the overall conclusion about the most stable political equilibrium. The Strait of Hormuz is a critical choke point for global seaborne oil trade. Whether, at what level, and how transit tolls are levied is directly tied to the balance of influence between the littoral states, Iran and Oman, and an external stakeholder, the United States. This paper abstracts the toll regime selection problem as a three-layer mathematical model, combining continuous time power dynamics, discrete time institutional transitions, and a probabilistic terminal state distribution, in order to quantitatively describe how a ceasefire structurally affects the political outcome. The analysis integrates three layers. First, the Lanchester strategic model, a continuous time system of differential equations describing the influence of the U.S. coalition and the Iran plus Oman coalition. Second, the LangGraph state transition model, a discrete time Markov chain over three institutional states, free, mandatory, and voluntary semi-mandatory. Third, the Monte Carlo method, which runs 1,000 trials of 60 steps each to estimate the distribution of terminal states. The Lanchester model uses two coupled differential equations. Here, K1 and K2 are containment coefficients, representing how strongly each side suppresses the other's influence, while SA and Psi are reinforcement terms representing diplomatic and institutional support. Before the ceasefire, both containment coefficients are high, reflecting a mutual attrition contest. After the ceasefire, military containment eases, but the Iran plus Oman coalition's reinforcement term rises sharply, from 0.40 to 0.55, showing that institutional capacity building becomes the central contest. This chart shows the time evolution of influence under the Lanchester model. Before the ceasefire, both A and I decline gradually as they contain one another. After the ceasefire, lower containment coefficients allow both sides to recover gently, and notably, the gap between the two coalitions' influence begins to narrow. The overall hegemonic balance holds, but its underlying structure shifts. The LangGraph model formulates the toll regime as a three-state Markov chain, free, meaning the no-fee principle, mandatory, meaning a compulsory levy, and voluntary semi-mandatory, a hybrid model that is nominally voluntary but practically almost unavoidable. Before the ceasefire, the mandatory state has an extremely high self-retention probability of 0.80. After the ceasefire, the voluntary state's self-retention rises to 0.70, with increased inflow from the other two states. These two diagrams visualize that structural shift. Before the ceasefire, mandatory forms a sticky, coercive equilibrium that is hard to escape once entered. After the ceasefire, outflow toward the voluntary state increases from both free and mandatory, and the voluntary state's own stickiness rises as well, making the convergence toward a hybrid toll regime clear. Running 1,000 Monte Carlo trials over 60 steps confirms this shift numerically. Before the ceasefire, mandatory is the dominant terminal state, reached 60.1% of the time. After the ceasefire, voluntary semi-mandatory becomes dominant, reached 53.6% of the time. That's a swing of nearly 33 percentage points away from mandatory, and almost 27 points toward the hybrid voluntary regime. Summarizing the structural differences, before the ceasefire, the dominant dynamic is military containment, an attrition-style contest, and the dominant terminal state is mandatory. After the ceasefire, the dominant dynamic becomes institutional reinforcement, an administrative competition, and the dominant terminal state becomes voluntary semi-mandatory. The political character shifts from coercive and adversarial to hybrid and conciliatory. Bringing all three layers together, the Lanchester dynamics show institutional reinforcement competition moving to center stage. The LangGraph structure shows a qualitative shift from a coercive equilibrium to a hybrid one. And the Monte Carlo distribution confirms a robust reversal, from mandatory dominating before the ceasefire, at 60.1%, to voluntary semi-mandatory dominating after it, at 53.6%. In conclusion, the Hormuz Strait toll problem is likely to shift, triggered by the ceasefire, from a coercive regime toward a hybrid regime that preserves nominal voluntariness while carrying substantive binding force. This is the conclusion of the integrated three-layer analysis, from the C4 model study group. Thank you.